Mentors, you ready?
Yep.
This is Anna. Go.
Hi, my name is Anna Strauss. I'm the CEO of Spark. We are going to be launching beta this summer with 3 companies with our employee engagement SaaS platform that personalizes rewards and recognition. I've been working with CEOs and HR managers for over 10 years on their talent strategies. Currently in the US, over 50% of employees are looking to leave due to lack of recognition. So companies are now spending up to $100 billion a year to my competitors on different rewards and incentives, but it's still not solving the problem because it goes beyond the generic perk. It's about how and when a person's recognized that makes them feel valued. Just this past December, a top salesperson got a $100,000 bonus check, but considered leaving because they didn't get recognized at the end of the year presentation. Spark is here to get to the heart of what employees really want. Through our automated questions and employee profiles, we're able to uncover,
Don't apologize.
So through our social interface, you can combine on shared goals and a culture of recognition.
No.
That
Don't
again.
apologize.
But I know, that is one of my
Very
biggest.
fast.
Sorry, I'm apologizing.
You guys ready? I'm sorry. Are you guys ready?
Ready? 1,
Remember, 5 is great.
1, 2, 3.
Wow, that's a wide range.
1, 2, 4. Why don't we start on the dark side, and we'll just follow the numbers.
Okay, so you spent maybe 3/4 of the time like kind of setting up and talking about the problem, and then I got really nothing else out of it. So you started talking about the solution. I know you even before you kind of got thrown off at the end, it didn't really know what the solution was or anything else about the business. So I basically came away from that knowing that, okay, there's kind of this problem. It's you didn't talk about how much even the problem definition, like I didn't get a sense of what the cost of that problem is for companies, or maybe I missed it, but like how much is that costing companies? Why is this a big problem? So I got a sense that there is a problem, there are competitors, there's a few $1 million going towards solving this, but how much of that problem is due to the fact that they're doing it wrong, and how are you going to do that better? If you can get to that quicker, tell me why, how you're going to solve this problem specifically, and also, I mean, I know it's early stage, but what traction do you have? What compelling reason do you have to go after this? What do you know that other people don't know? So I didn't really get any of that, and that's really important. So I would just really get that tight problem definition very fast.
Okay.
Like this is this industry, this is the problem, some way, like the $100,000 example you gave, like just start with something like that. Something that's just like, boom, this happened, this is, this stuff happens all the time, it's big because it happens at this many companies, this is the cost of this problem for most companies and as an industry, and knock that out in like 10 to 15 seconds, and then spend the rest of the time saying, this is our solution, this is our like go-to-market, or whatever else you need to get out based on the stage that you're at right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it was just, in essence, just way too much time on describing the problem. It was like, it seemed like it was 3/4 of the pitch.
Okay, thank you.
2.
Right, I will have to agree with that. Like at the beginning, you started just talking about the problem and how your competitors are acting. I didn't get the product right away. It didn't get my attention. Also, I would say just relax a little bit more. You seem kind of stiff, kind of just one place. Obviously, don't apologize. If you're making a mistake, just keep going. It happened to me during my presentation. I just keep going, and try to describe how can you solve the problem more in detail, obviously.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
We got a 4, so.
Yeah, I'm biased because I wish we had that kind of solution. So, I feel the need, and I'd read your description, and just the first sentence felt, okay, I see basically what it is. It's true that you didn't really answer, how you are solving it, but it seems to me like an easy one. There are different ways of giving props or bonuses or something like this. So I'm not too worried about it. What I'm worried about is that you talk about your competitors getting the money. So there is no need.
Okay.
There is no market to fill, because there is already a product that seems to be solving the need. So that needs to be changed, I think, in your pitch, because I don't think I've explored a bit that kind of stuff. There is no real solution that works well.
Okay.
And then the thing is, you never know how long you're gonna have as a pitch, so you need to train yourself, to have a random timer that gives you 30 seconds, a minute 30, 2 minutes. It's not when you start your pitch that you know how long people you will give you, because you're gonna be in an elevator, in a street, in a hallway. And so you need to be able to do your first minute. That person seems to like it. Let me give him more details, and maybe be able to go up to 5 minutes.
So, okay, we don't really know what you do because you were blabbing about apologizing, getting lost.
Mhm.
So, just try and tell us the solution in 3 or less sentences.
Okay. Well, the biggest problem is that.
No.
Well, employers are using rewards as a way to incentivize employees, but physical rewards are only 40 to 50% of the overall recognition experience. And the other 50 to 60% is who's giving the reward and how it's being presented. And that's where the missing link is, and that's what our competitors aren't doing right now.
That I don't know, see, I didn't like that either. So it was not terrible, but that was here's what other people
Yeah, it's
kept
not a
trying to
solution.
But it's a
default
thesis,
to
at least it's a thesis, I didn't get that from the pitch. If that thesis had come through in the pitch, I would have probably at least gone up to a 2.
So here's what, exactly, and I'm concerned about that very point, Javed, that it's that's a thesis. I would want to still hear more anecdotal evidence that it's not a thesis and more of a proven thing. So after, this study recently came out that showed this 40 to 60% split. So we've decided to tackle the problem of that 60%, making sure that the right person is giving the right reward. Now, we did office hours, and one of my concerns with your platform, and I'd like to discuss this with the vendors and get their view, since you did such a shitty job pitching it, I'm gonna try and tell them what I think an issue is and see what your thoughts are. I understand time issues, but we wanna help her get a half-decent business. So, everyone in the company will fill out something that says, this is what I want, right? And then when they do well or exceed their goals or whatever, they wanna the employees wanna reward them, employers wanna reward them, then they'll turn to her database, say, oh, they wanna go to dinner with a couple at the French Laundry, the manager can get them to dinner at the French Laundry. Did that make sense? I have 2 concerns with it, and I'd love just a quick feedback on it. One is someone will be like, I want dinner at the French Laundry, but they blow ass, so they're never gonna get a dinner at the French Laundry. So you're essentially collecting 200 people's worth of data, and you're gonna give the reward to a large subset of that, not a large in terms of volume, but a very minuscule subset. So I want dinner at French Laundry. I want dinner at French Laundry. Well, you're never gonna get dinner at French Laundry because you suck. But Joe over there keeps getting dinner at the French Laundry or whatever he wants because he's good. This month he wants dinner at the French Laundry. Next month he wants to rent a Tesla. He gets it all. You get nothing because you suck. So I actually don't know if that would work to help
You're
or.
worried that the business model might actually backfire and create
Yes.
more resentment within an organization?
Potentially. Like, why do I fill this stupid survey out if I never get it?
I would say from the survey point of view, it's mainly that operationally you won't be able to tailor everybody's experience. So you need standardized price or a catalog of price, and there are businesses offering that. We use that kind of stuff for our agents. You can pick an iPad, a gift card, or something like this, but you don't want to have to manage for each company operationalizing, hey, I'm gonna get him that because he asked for that, I'm going to give him something else.
And maybe you only pick when you get rewarded rather than before, because that's another thing, you wanna collect all this data about what they want. That would fucking piss me off. It's like, I want a new iPad. Tough, buddy.
So I have some friends that run a company called AvaBot, or EvaBot, however you pronounce it, and they do something very similar for customers. So they work a lot with realtors that want to show appreciation to their customers. So they send them a link. They're like, hey, your realtor is giving you this reward or whatever, and then at the moment when they're giving it to them, it gives them the control to pick which gift they want. So it's already been gifted and decided. I don't know if they're doing any like upfronts. I don't think they're doing any kind of upfront surveys. I'm glad to put you in touch with them, by the way, if you want to chat with them, because it's similar but different. I'm not so sure. I get what you're saying. I'm not so sure it would backfire. It seems like if it did, there might be more systemic cultural problems in an organization or resentment or whatever. I wouldn't be as concerned about that. My main concern is just around your thesis and how strong it is, and like I would just say, how do you know, like you have this thesis, how do you know that that's gonna work? Have you tried it? Have you implemented this before? I mean, try this as a concierge service. Like, don't even build software, get software. Like, prove that this model works by going into companies and offering this as a service to them. And then do that 5, 10, 20 times. That's how you can pre-sell this as a concierge service somehow.
I love that idea.
And then, once you use software, build a platform to create operational efficiency in your process, not to, like, the software is not the solution, the service is the solution.
And I think being the concierge would be the ultimate thing. It's like, oh, I want to give someone a reward. John said they want to give you a reward. I am the deliverer of John's reward for you. Here are 5 things to choose from. Which would you like?
It's a text messaging service. So the employer just says, I want to give so-and-so a reward. You send them a text message, or they send it, somehow introduce you to the text message so there's no security issues or whatever. But then you say, hey, we'll help you get your reward from your manager, blah, blah, blah. Just make sure that doesn't come across as like a potential.
I think that could come across as beautiful if you're like, I am the deliverer of the reward for you.
What I'm saying, there's a lot of phishing scams that are like that. That hey, so in your company gave you a reward, so that you have to just be cautious about how it gets routed, so it doesn't appear.
Send me your bank account.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Alexi.
Alex?
NRT space?
Yeah, NRT.
Alex.
Where's the 3D camera for space?
Victory pose. Let's see it. Arms up. Victory pose.
Do it.
Put your arms up. All the way up. All the way up. Put them up. Put them up. All the way.
He's handicapped
All the
now.
way.
All the way.
Stretch
There
it.
you
There you
go.
go. And come to the middle. You don't have to hide behind the podium.
I'm afraid to.
Oh, it won't turn on.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Mentors, are you ready? Do you want a 5-second warning or just shut up?
Please.
Just,
5 seconds.
I'll go like that. You've got 5 seconds. All right. Start when you're ready and I'll start the timer. Go ahead. Ready? Go.
Hello, my name is Alex Kaltushkin, and my company is Energy Space, developing light space rocket for satellites. Our initial target customer is private aerospace companies that build satellites. 2017 years shows data that service market is about 2.5 billions, and growing around 2% per year. All my life, I have had passion for rocket science, and 5 years ago, I ran a rocket startup in Moscow. We made some progress, and right now I want to continue and launch my startup in the United States. Last 20 years, electronics and technologies has evolved and become more compact and powerful, and that makes satellites easier, more affordable, and lighter. But rockets that launch are still huge, and that's the problem. My company will help private sector and aerospace companies to gain access to the space. Thank you.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, we're gonna go from high to low. No, it's all ones. Bastian, did you go last time? Why don't you go first this time? We'll just reverse the order.
I don't know what's the use case. Your clients are not aerospace company, they are your distributor. The clients are whoever wants to put a satellite in space and that needs a small satellite. So it's not telecommunication. So who are the people that are gonna at the end be paying for it? I don't know. I don't know what's the need, you know, are they really reliable? Is that a market that already really exists or not? I know that there's a market for these nano satellites, but it's mainly universities and stuff, but most people probably don't know about that. And I don't know if you are looking at very tiny stuff, still intermediate, you know, what's your cost per stuff, you know, what's really the market? The other part is you talk that you have been doing the same thing in Moscow. Well, why did you leave it? Why did you move? Did you restart from scratch just to be in the US? So it making me feel like something went wrong and you are not providing details, but not trusting your project anymore.
Those are all very good points. Juan, you want to pile on?
He didn't talk about any. There was no momentum. Like he just talked about his past, but he didn't talk about like what he's doing right now. He just talked about his idea of launching satellites, but I didn't see anything that he's working on. What is the stage of the company? Again, I mean, I like that he gave some background about himself. He was very specific about what he does, but again, there wasn't anything that makes me think like you are actually working on it right now. It's just like kind of like a random idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talked about yourself. It's okay to talk about yourself if it's building the case, but you talked about yourself to tell us what you wanted. Nobody cares what you want. So you said, I want to do this and I want to achieve this. Like, do people care about how you're going to help them or how you're going to make money or what problem you're going to solve? But coming into a pitch and spending 10 seconds or 15 seconds talking about, I have this background if it's pertinent to, I've worked in the rocket industry for 10 years. Like, okay, that's good. Now you're building credibility. But then you lead into, and I want to solve this problem, and my last startup, it kind of didn't work out, or whatever it was. Then now you're like, you started building credibility, and then you're just going into, this is what I want to do. Now it feels like, hey, he's just on a personal mission to recover from his last failure, or something like that, right? So that comes across as very weak. So this is all just the presentation. I'm just talking about the presentation right now. So I tried to get you to do the victory pose. I noticed you were reluctant to get your arms all the way up, but just to loosen you up. But you've got to be a little looser, be able to show a little more energy. You had a lot of and that probably wasted at least just 10 to 12 seconds of your time just saying Like, just eliminate from your vocabulary and stop saying it. And so that'll help you gain a lot of time. And use, and I just said but use that as a spacer, right? So take a breath for a second, or something that doesn't distract people as they're listening to you. So record yourself, watch yourself, get rid of the low energy. But most importantly, I didn't understand the problem. There's rockets and satellites, and I was trying to wrap my head around what you even really do. It sounded like you have a way of using private rockets to help people get their satellites into space. Okay, sorry, so I guess I got it, but it just was not very obvious. I had to kind of think about it really hard. Say, we help people get their satellites into space using private rockets. Why? And then go into, something like that. We help, the strong one sentence pitch, if you want to just shrink it down, we help X person improve this or accomplish that. They love us because, you can just go into very quickly who you're helping, how you help them, why did they love you, how are you different from your competition. You can do that all within 10 seconds and get that knocked out, Google the one sentence pitch and get that format and just start with that. I think that'll really help you steer in the right direction, get your problem, and then we can start talking about why you're the right person to do this and how you're going to make a ton of money off of this and what's your unfair advantage and all that other stuff. But get that core part of your pitch down first.
And I'm going to give you that sentence. With the miniaturization of equipment, companies are able to build smaller satellites for cheaper, but they need the right rocket to launch them.
Right, and that's,
There you
I
go.
think he almost said that, right? But it just came out in a jumbled.
He had it in his written pitch.
He did.
Yeah.
So, one thing, red team, you guys need to practice with him, because like, English is his second language, which means he needs to pitch twice as much in order to get to even a competent level. So you guys are gonna need to work with him very, very hard. And I'm gonna hold you guys personally responsible for his next pitch. You really have to work with him to try and make sure that he doesn't say,
Well, it can't get worse.
Yeah, so it might get worse, luckily, but what you're going to have to do is really try and give him feedback. If he's saying a lot, just tell him, like, go back home, practice at least 10 more times until you say no ums. Just focus on one thing at a time and eliminate it. So
Who's the director of Red Team?
Dylan, he's out of town.
Okay, good, because you wouldn't have that.
Yeah. Alright,
But
so
what-
it's not the red team's fault, but definitely try and work with
Help him to
Lexi.
relax.
Yeah.
He's way too tense, and he's getting nervous, and he's forgetting things. And
Yeah,
so-
I mean, but let's go back to the business. So Bastian, I know space pretty well, you know space pretty well. I mean, it's an interesting concept, right? If you're not going to Mars, you don't need a big fucking rocket. You need a small rocket because, to your point, everything's getting miniaturized. So a lot of the modern day, it would be a very interesting thing to say is right now, I don't know if this is true, but let's say, I kind of do know it's true, but I don't know the full market spectrum. But right now, there's 50 new rocket companies out in the last year, and they're all producing vehicles to bring 500 kilograms or more to orbit. We're working on a vehicle that can bring 500 kilograms or less to orbit, and because it's a smaller vehicle focusing on a smaller payload, our price per kilogram is X, whereas their average price per kilogram will be 2X, right? Okay, well I can start to buy that. And then I know additionally that, at this point in time, we've started working on the test stand, I started working on the engine, and I have about 20% of the overall vehicle design done. That doesn't sound like a lot, but in rocketry it's quite a bit because the engine and stuff takes years to do, and we're building the test stand because we have an engine in development that we're going to be able to test by June. So, and stuff like that and then all of a sudden now we're like, oh, that's very interesting. In addition, I've gone out and spoken with, universities, et cetera, who are producing these small satellites, and if we can deliver the price point that I quoted, 30% of the 50 companies I interviewed said that they would be willing to do some test flights with us. Okay, now, and you know, this is my second startup in space. The first one was over in Russia. It failed for these reasons. And I learned from it, and I'm now ready to go and make it happen. I've been working in the industry for 10 years. That pitch would have probably been a 4, right? You know, in
Not
some
enough energy.
with better energy, right? Yeah. All right, so.
So, Yevgeny?
Who's next?
Yevgeny, so Y-E-V. Yep, job wisely.
Name change.
Name change.
Yep.
Updating the platform.
Hold on.
So Yevgeny, if you don't update your name in the platform, your graduation certificate's, your company's name in the graduation certificate's gonna be wrong.
All right, you ready? You want a 5-second or no? Just cut you off.
5 seconds.
All right. Mentors, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. I'll start when you are.
Hello, my name is Yevgeny, and I'm developing an artificially intelligent recruiter named Alice, who automatically sources, screens, and schedules interviews with the top 1% of matching applicants for any job description, using natural language processing and a unique algorithm via text and email. Unanimously, hiring managers, HR managers, and in-house recruiters have expressed frustrations with their current hiring process. Although there are a numerous amount of tools at their disposal to source screen candidates, as well as applicant tracking systems that help them sort and schedule interviews, they're still expressing a lot of frustration because there's no single solution that addresses all of their problems. I am uniquely qualified to solve this problem because I have first-hand experience with artificial intelligence applications for the HR space. I have been a part of hundreds of interviews, both as a candidate and as an employer, and I have experienced this frustration on myself. I have 10 years experience in growth marketing and user experience design, and I want to redesign the experience for the candidate and for the employer.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Whoa, dude, that was like that's a 3.
I wanted to say, yeah.
I feel like this is a 3 that pitched better than the big verbal diarrhea. So you got 4 and 2. We'll start on the dark side. Bastian, I guess, was he sort of a 3 for you as well?
No.
No?
Not even. You said a lot of stuff that didn't bring any value. There are a lot of solutions out there, but they don't really solve the problem. Great. I know that there are solutions, that there are recruiters, but you need to show what is your differentiation. You need to convince me that you are really able to select the 1%. You need to show me that the experience for the recruiter, and I'm saying you need to give me concrete elements and not stay vague like you did for most of your pitch. In addition to also looking at the floor doing a pitch.
I'm not going to argue. Who wants to go next? Javid or Juan, go next.
Yeah, no, there wasn't any explanation on how can he differentiate himself from the overcrowded market already. That was my main concern. Practice a little bit more your speech. There was a few pauses there, here and there, but other than that, that was my only concern, I think.
Yeah, there's no 3 in here, so it was
Right.
probably like a 3, maybe it was like a 3.1, so I rounded up to a 4 instead of rounding down to a 2. So I think that, so there's definitely some presentation you just got to work on and loosen up, but I think what everyone else is saying. So what I liked is I did get a sense of what you're doing. The problem I think was fairly clear. You did after you stated the problem initially, I got it, but then you said this is kind of what we're building and the problem we're solving, and then you went into kind of a second round of explaining really the giving a background on why it's a problem. that may, depending on the audience, that may or may not be necessary. Like, as I felt like in the first few seconds, I was like, okay, I get the problem. Recruiting, it's very time consuming. It made sense. You're like, we're gonna automate this, blah blah blah. It's like, to me, it made sense. You got to read the audience and make sure you need to spend that extra time. But with, yeah, definitely around the solution, and kind of the reason I rounded up, I guess, was so I was just taking into account probably where you are, where this is an idea. You did start going into I want to do this, so just in general for, I guess for everybody, like the words I want, nobody cares what you want, so just don't use it in a pitch. So I want this, I want to do that, like that's irrelevant. So don't say I want in a pitch, just focus on what value you're gonna deliver. It seems like if you could have given me that thesis of what's your unfair advantage, or how are you going to do this different than the 20 other people that are in this market that are doing this, I think it could have been a solid 4 or a 5. But yeah, just try to get that part down and tell us how you know that that's going to solve the problem. Like what is your validated assumption? Like how did you validate it? How do you know that that's going to happen? This also might be another concierge type of thing that you could provide. If you have a model for doing this and you can take it off of their hands and minimize their time, even if you have like, monkeys on phones in the background doing the call or whatever it is, like behind the curtain, and you can take that time off of their hands and provide that as a service to them, then maybe you could launch it as a concierge service. That's what recruiters do. So if they're willing to pay recruiters to do this and take that time off of their hands, you're basically a recruiting firm, just build a facade of a software platform in front of it or something like that. So, yeah.
So basically the way that he works, let me describe it to you, and then I'd like to get a piece of feedback. So you upload your job rec, you have your existing HR system, whatever it is, resumes are coming in, and he does two, which you did a fucking god awful job of describing. Correct me if I'm wrong here. And he does two things. So first, he keeps your candidate pool of people coming in alive through the AI, just saying, hey, we're reviewing your resume, we'll get back to you in a few days. Whereas a lot of times people just don't even do that. So the AI keeps the candidate pool alive. And then it pattern matches the job rec against the entire list of resumes. And it may find someone that applied 6 months ago for a different role that might be the right fit for this role based on AI pattern matching, and pulls that to the top. None of which you described, which I just described in far less than a minute, and I don't know if, now, so why you didn't describe that, I have no fucking idea, but did I get anything wrong?
It's a
Yes or no?
yes.
Okay, what did I get wrong?
It keeps the candidate pool alive from all the companies that are
Okay,
hiring.
whatever. So,
But yes, you're right.
okay. So if you heard that, does it make it better or worse?
I mean, I would be concerned that that's irrelevant, because a candidate that was on the market 6 months ago is probably not going to be on the market again in 6 months, right? They're probably got a job.
Nah, I don't
So
disagree with that.
Does that matter?
So most of the best candidates are passive right now because they're currently employed. So the goal is to, while they're employed 8-9 months in the current job and they're not happy at that job, they're not going to go start applying. They don't have that much time to go around.
How do you know that most can, when you say most, what is most, and how do you know that?
So I would say an average employee lifespan, at least here in the Bay Area, is like a year and 4 or 5 months, something
Yeah,
like that.
don't use the Bay Area as your
So usually
stat.
within after 6
All right, stop. Okay. But do you like or dislike the idea more based on that?
My concern is really on the quality of the matching. I know somebody that recruits at Airbnb and doesn't even use, the applicants that come to her, or what the system, try to match and go and source the right candidates. And I never really believed in just because there is that buzzword, you're gonna be able to select the right applicant.
So you're saying that the best, you know, looking at a pool of people who write you, getting the top 1% of that is not the top 1% of who could be for the role, it's just the top 1% of the crap that comes
You
in the
don't
door.
want the top 1%, you want the top 5. It's not it's not that much a numbers game. You need to go and find the right people rather than just hope that 1,000 people, because if there are 1,000 people applying and you can't match any of them, well, people will stop using your platform because they won't find a job on it. So you don't need too many applicants.
But yeah, the channel is definitely important, so if they're coming in because you put a job ad out there and then they're funneling through because of that job ad, that means probably potentially they're actively looking, and they're submitting this, you know, this job ad. But yeah, a lot of the best leads that I've hired for positions have come in from me going on LinkedIn and searching for people or sourcing them or asking somebody for a recommendation. And I typically will, if somebody comes in on a warm lead or with a recommendation, they're much more likely to get a job from me. So, yeah, I don't know if the whole like 6 months we can resource them and bring them back up to the top. Like I would just be, that doesn't seem like a significant value proposition to me. That seems like a potential experiment in your algorithm. It's like if you're selling that as a value proposition to me as the hiring manager, I'm just like, okay, you know, show me what's the proof's in the pudding. Like, are you going to actually help me reduce my time and fill this role faster with the right person? Like, at the end of the day, that's the metric I care about.
The concierge testing though would be great for this, because you could say, hey, here are the top 5 resumes from your resume system, and here are the top 5 people we found on LinkedIn, and here are the top 5 people that blah 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 that are on GitHub, and here are and like, then you can almost see like, oh, if they come back to you and say, I really like this guy, if they never say, I like the resume from the pile, but they're always like, I like that dude on LinkedIn, it's like, oh, okay, well then maybe we're focused on the wrong.
So you've been in growth marketing, you've been in UX, have you been in the recruiting business?
Right now,
Yes or no?
not in the recruiting business, no.
Okay, so if you have not been in the recruiting business, then another thing you might consider, set up a small recruiting practice. Just then come up with the way that you're going to do this, dog food your own solution, make sure that you can source those leads, you're the last mile connection between yourself and the employer, and it's still kind of a concierge for them, but you're building operational efficiencies within your agency, and then once you've built that platform up to the point where it's marketable directly to those end customers, that's when you expose it to them. And there's a lot of companies that have started this way. Second Market started this way.
Yeah,
They were famous, you know, they were like putting people in touch with each other to trade all these like crazy
Liquid,
liquid assets, and they just basically set up phone banks and started calling people and set up all these transactions. They started building this software so they could make their own management of this thing better, and then eventually they launched Second Market as a website, and there's several other examples of this. But if you haven't been in this business before, you probably don't really speak the language of the recruiters or the hiring managers, so I would get yourself into that business, set yourself up as a recruiting agency, and just start sourcing deals. Even if you're doing it at a loss, it's in the short term, it's fine, because you're not trying to make a profit off of that. You're trying to make you're trying to hit the end target of bringing the overall cost down, and once you are able to bring the overall cost down or show some signs of bringing it down, then you have your strategy in place, and you can potentially raise money on that if you can show traction and like, hey, we have our own agency, with this software we're starting to see a reduction in cost of X%, and we can do it cheaper than other recruiters, and this is how we're expanding and growing it. Like that would be a valuable thesis. But if you're gonna go and start selling software to a company right now and say we can help you with your recruiting, and you don't really understand recruiting, it's gonna be a big problem for you.
Okay, well, I think we're done. Let's go on.
Who's next, Corey?
Come on up. Are you gonna VR it?
Yeah, no, just to use it in during the break.
Oh, okay. That seems like a letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can use it now, alright.
Nah, it's okay.
Alright. Tiago?
Yeah, that's right.
Victory pose?
Tiago.
Oh, no. I'm anchoring you to 5, so I want to
Okay.
see a 5 here.
Can I start?
Mentors, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Ready when you are. Go.
Hi, my name is Thiago. I've been working with media and technology for the past 11 years. My company, Mantis, is a platform to help people overcome their fears of public speaking, a problem that affects 74% of people, including me. And you can see a lot of different solutions online, but mostly solutions are videos, and that doesn't work at all for this kind of stuff. So astronauts are using VR to train in very stressful situations, and why not to use VR to help us in this, develop those skills? So that's what about my company. We want to use immersive technologies to help millennials learn how to speak and how to develop other business skills using VR, AR to provide experiential learning online. So like I showed to you, we already developed some process to deal with those kind of high-end equipment. So we are doing hard, and that's what we want to do. Yes.
Time. Mentors, are you ready? One, two, three. All right, 2, 4, 4. Can I ask what's your company name?
Mantis. I don't know I don't know the name of my company yet. I need to
Okay,
develop that.
Mantis.
Yeah, Mantis.
Did anyone else MENTIS?
Mantis, like yeah.
Like praying mantis.
Mantis.
Is it mantis or
Mentis?
mentis?
Mantis.
M-E-N or M-A-N? How do you spell it?
M-A-N.
M-A-N-I-S.
Mantis.
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 All right. So I have to say this. So the thing that pisses me off, fuck you because you're a public speaking guy, but like you're training people on public speaking. My company name is doing. You had a company name in there, and Mantis or Mantis. Like fuck, dude. Like you gotta slow it down and pronunciate it. You got an accent to begin with. That's fine. So just slow it down even further. My company, Mantis, is like, just make it super awkward. But at least then everyone will remember it, right? Because the way you said it, my company, Mantis, I was like, I didn't, and this is, a lot of you have accents, that's okay. I have an accent too, not really. But if you have an accent, you have to work to overcome it when you're saying especially something like you're as important as your company name. So of all, you could have verbal diarrhea your whole way through that, but the company name you should just slow down and set it like ultra slow. But anyway, I'm done. So why don't we go dark first with Bastian?
So you kind of defined the problem, but you didn't really show some example really of situation that you could solve. So the problem and solution were not that well defined, explained. You talked a lot about stuff, but that were not really relevant. You know, what is the business model? What situation are you going to go after? How are you going to solve it? Yes, you're gonna provide a way for people to talk about, hey, I can rehearse in front of my mirror. So how are you going to do better than that?
VR is better than your mirror, man. Juan?
He didn't talk about his competitor. He just mentioned, you know, how NASA and other scientists are using VR and AR to improve stressful situation. And you didn't go in detail how you're going to use that to help the target market to improve their speaking skills. I like that he has present compared to other speakers.
Thank fucking God.
Even though he has an accent like myself, but he projected his voice. He was confident, and I give it to you for that.
Me? Yeah, so the presentation style was definitely good. So maybe you can work with some other people here using your technology. So I kind of want to mirror what he said. Yeah, I feel like I was on the fence about going up and down or down. Maybe I should have gone down to 2 in retrospect, but I'm definitely, yeah, so you mentioned the problem. I know it's a problem because I do a lot of public speaking, so I understand the problem. I've done speech coaching with people to learn a lot, so it's definitely something I've thought about and actively looking for solutions for. The value proposition of what you're doing, because it's in a different medium that people aren't used to, you have to kind of show that you have to demonstrate to us that there's some credibility to this style. So anytime you're introducing a new learning style, like a new way of learning something, people are going to be skeptical. They're just going to say, okay, so you're going to teach me with this new tool or in a different way. It's like just most people go to, based for educational things, they want a referral. Like they want to talk to 10 people that had a successful experience in something and then learn it the way, like I want to learn French, like find 6 people that learned French and talk to them and say, okay, how did you guys learn? Oh, we did this program, we did that program, and maybe 3 of them say they used this one that's solid, and then you use that one. But you're coming in with like, hey, I'm using new technology, we're going to teach it in a different way, it's going to be online, you're not going to have an instructor, it's going to be all different, and now I have to take your word for it that it's going to be better, and I don't know if I can buy that. So in your pitch, give us some sort of traction, some sort of credibility, some sort of use case that, hey, we did this with 10 people and we got this result, we're showing, this type of traction. Like, make me believe that you actually have a better way of doing it rather than making me believe that you are really interested in AR and VR and are just looking for something to do with that, and this seems like it was good enough. So like, prove that your solution is good. So let me ask you a question. Are you more interested in AR and VR, or are you more interested in solving this public speaking problem?
Both, actually.
Which one are you more interested in?
More interested.
I'm more interested in both.
No, I'm interested in VR, in VR stuff, application.
First, that's the one you're more interested in?
Like if VR and AR was out of this, so this is something for everybody. So don't get married to your solution, right? So if you care about this space, then if AR and VR was this shit and it did not work, would you say screw AR and VR, and I'm going to find a different way to solve this problem. I'm going to find a different way to help people with public speaking. I don't care about AR and VR, that's just a mechanism to get there. Would you do that? Or if this didn't work, would you say, I'm done with this public speaking thing, I want to focus on AR and VR and find a different problem in the AR and VR space? Which one would you do if you had that? If this fails, which one would you do, A or B?
A.
A being, you would say, screw the AR, VR, I'm focused on, okay,
yes.
all right,
And
that's good.
in my
That's actually, that is good. That was a great question, by the way, which applies to like a shit ton of you fuckers. So don't marry, if you're going after a problem, the solution may not always fit. And you're gonna have to come up with a completely different solution and throw away the AR, right? Because you're like,
So my interpretation from my feeling, because that's all I had to go on, from your pitch was the opposite.
me too.
I felt that you were passionate about the AR and VR, and the public speaking thing was just kind of a secondary.
And that's because your solution is not well defined.
That's right.
You don't
That's
really
right.
see why AR, VR are gonna help you solve that problem. The solution I've seen a few years ago is some kind of kiosk with a camera, kind of a Kinect, and a screen that analyze your movement, your body movement, and give you tips on that. And great, I'm gonna be able to see what I do. I'm gonna get pointers on, hey, I'm using my hands too much, or I'm looking down, or something like this. I'm gonna learn a lot, real actionable tips on what to do. From just having this, it's just about facing people. I could talk in the subway or in the street and look normal in San Francisco and still be learning.
One of the things though and to that point though, because I could infer from some things you said which you didn't, and the fact that you took the picture of the room, one of the things I inferred with the NASA comment as well, is that by placing someone on a stage or in front of an audience and they could feel that in VR with chatter and everything else, and they have to pitch, it creates a very visceral experience of pitching that, but as Bastian just said, you could go in a subway, you could go on a street corner, you might look crazy, but if you start talking, that's also super uncomfortable, right? You don't need to put on a VR headset, you know. But, so is that what it is? Like so the thesis might be, Javed, that when speaking in front of a large group of people, people get nervous. That stress impedes their ability to pitch even more, so it becomes a compounding negative cycle. Whereas, so through VR, we can create the experience of standing in a room, create that stressful situation, help you get through your pitching and your presentations, and get a better outcome. Is that the thesis?
Yes.
So that thesis might have been helpful to be more explicit. And then back to your point, you could say, and to this effect, I did it earlier today, we're using it here in the program, I've done it with these other people, and we've seen this kind of market improvement.
Look at other people in the education space and see the ones that are successful, how they do their sales pitches. I think that would also help you. Yeah.
All right.
One more?
One more? Let's see. I think we got one more.
Okay, Bastian has to go, but.
Oh, you gotta go?
Yes.
I can't buy you a drink tonight, but I will buy you one soon, sir. Thank you.
I think so.
Thank you.
Can I rate for you? Can I put you
Sure.
a placebo
Well,
rater?
I don't know, who do you want to rate from me?
I will not give,
No, I'm not in the running,
What's your
sorry.
name again?
Thank you. Thank you.
Pinheiro?
Yep, my sphere.
Pinheiro? How do you say it? Pinheiro. Victory pose. All the way up.
You ready? Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, mentors, you ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Hi, I'm Tenny. I'm a UX designer, software engineer, cognitive scientist, and a nomad myself. I had to rebuild my relationship circles all my life, and it's painful. For an introvert like me, even more, but it doesn't have to be. MySphere is an app that helps you have conversations, casual conversations, with people in the places you love, trust, and often go to. Meet Anne. Anna just relocated to New York and she has to make new friends. With MySphere, all she has to do is to go to a Whole Foods store, plug into that sphere, and MySphere will start to gather behavioral data from Anna and pair her up with people she can have casual conversations with. Sometimes all you need is just a casual small talk, like when you walk the dog and you bump into like 5, 7, 8 casual conversations in 10 minutes. I'll walk a golden retriever, by the way, that's why. So we are the dog. That's MySphere. Thank you.
Time.
Then you want to count down some?
Mentors, are you ready? All right, 1,
2,
3. What? What?
I don't like the business, but the pitch wasn't bad.
Okay. What did you get?
2.
So we'll go down to high.
Okay. So, okay, I'm an extrovert, so it's maybe hard for me to wrap my head around the problem. I'm trying to understand when you say many times I've had to rebuild my relationship circles. I'm not sure what that means, and that threw me off, and I think I kind of was trying to figure out what you meant by that, and I lost maybe another 5 to 10 seconds of the pitch trying to dissect what that means. So I was thinking maybe he moves a lot and he has to like find new friends when he moves to new places, or he's really bad at keeping friends, so he has to constantly go out and find new friends. So that threw me off a little bit. I don't fully, so it's, my takeaway from this is an app for introverts. If it's only an app for introverts to help them get over their introversion, it would have been good to just state that, like, this is an app for introverts to get over their introversion. Studies show that blah blah blah, or we've proven that blah blah blah, and like just be direct with that. It sounded like you weren't. It didn't feel like you were placing it as solving a specific niche problem. It felt like you were kind of a social network, but here's the way that I use it, and then you kind of explained your use case. So that just the structure of the pitch was like kind of throwing me off. If you would have told me exactly like this is for introverts that have, you know, they're introverted people, they have a hard time meeting people, this is how we solve it. We have, you know, 20,000 introverts on our system right now. They report like a, you know, 62% on their NPS survey, and we know they're happy with it, or whatever it is, like then I would have said, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. Do you have a product already?
No.
No, okay. So then the next question would be, like, yeah, how are you going to test or prove that this actually helps? Like, what are your key metrics for how you actually help people? Like, is there a measurable way that you can see that you're helping people? Is it just that their retention and engagement in your app, like they keep using it? Is there a point, like a dating app, where they use it for a certain amount of time and then they get over their introversion and they stop using it? So I'm just a little confused about like how it works and who you're targeting. So yeah, and just like again, maybe loosen up a little bit more and just a little more passion and energy.
I had my eyes closed. Juan?
I don't, well, what I got, it wasn't that he was targeting introverts. I think he mentioned something about movement, so I don't know if that has to do with kind of how you pairing people or matching each other. I didn't get the whole, I thought it was just like a story he was developing, which it took a long time from the beginning in order for me to get to that point to understand, like, okay, it's kind of like a dating app, so you can connect with other people and that sort of stuff. So it wasted a lot of time from the beginning, about like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you know, kind of building up into the story. Also, he didn't talk about himself. Like, I don't know much about him. Like, do you have experience in this kind of industry? Have you built anything before? And also, doing your speech, you look down. You know, it was kind of like get more energized, engage the audience, not just like be pasted back and forth.
So, all right. My eyes were closed, so I didn't see his physical pitch one. So I agree he didn't talk about, okay. Here is my issue. It's a social network, am I right or wrong? That's a yes or no? Yes or no?
No.
It's not a social network. Well, that's news to me, so then I'm revising my rating, because if I'm Bastian, I probably wouldn't have given you a 4 anyway. But all right, so if it's not a social network, then what is it?
It's a dating app, a social network.
No, don't answer a question with a question.
No, but that's the
It's
best
like,
paradigm
hey,
that I have.
if it's not a social media app, what is it? Is water really water? Does yellow shine yellow at night? Like, I don't know, man. If it's not a social media app, then what is it? Don't ask me a question, I don't know.
It's an app to
Yes,
help
yellow
people,
is yellow at night.
It's an app to help people start conversations, that's what it is.
So it's not dating app either.
Okay,
Because you don't need to date.
and this is where my
It's
problem
very
lies.
realistic.
Stop. And this is where my problem lies, okay? So, while Facebook is completely fucked up, I kind of buy the vision of like, if you want to you need a system to manage your connections. Of course, why would it limit it to 5,000, blah, 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 with a lot of stupid shit. and technically your personal connections, right? So you need a system to make, I can buy that they're saying we're connecting people, the planet. Okay, I got that, right?